What is leadership?
The question of the day. Big one for me. I'm super excited about talking about this.
Yeah, that is today's topic. I am Tracy Sprates.
I'm Paul Sprates, and this is
Resorting to Success.
New topic, something fun. At least for me, it's fun.
Yep.
Something that I've admired through my roles in sales and leadership and business as a whole.
And we talk about this a lot, actually, because as business owners, we do try to be good leaders, and that is not easy. I mean, honestly, being a good leader takes work and practice, and I feel like it's ever changing and evolving. And so I think this is such a great topic because hopefully we can help other people to
100%.
work on their leadership. And it's such a great reminder for us too. We've learned a lot even just in our research about leadership. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and I think leadership applies in so many different ways, right? It's not just business. It's your family, it's your day, it's your person. I mean, I think that the other thing is too, you have to lead yourself to the opportunity to be successful.
Yeah.
And this is our point of the show, and that's the exciting part of it. At least for me, I've seen so many bobs and weaves of different types of leadership over the years, and I'm going to sound old when I say this, but I've had some amazing mentors. I've had some amazing trainings that I've gone to. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I actually would like to start by talking about mentors. Okay. I actually feel like in my life I've had quite a few mentors.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a few that I would like to just mention and talk about because I think sometimes as a leader, you really don't understand the impact that you have on other people.
Oh.
So from the very beginning of my career, I've worked since I was 16, and I got a job at a local department store when I was 16, and I had this really incredible store manager, Gina Vance. Shout out to Gina Vance. Love her.
Still a dear friend, right?
That's the
kind
thing.
Of a dear friend of ours too.
Dear friend. But I was 16, and I've always been a hard worker, but I was 16. Yeah. And I was a cashier. I wanted to be promoted because I saw the people in the furniture department making more money. And so anyways, I had to kind of prove myself. Well, once I got into that role, I'll never forget Gina walking by the furniture department. And I think I was talking to another employee or I was doing something. And she came over and kind of scolded me about what I was doing. And she did not scold the other person. Ooh. And at the end of the day, I guess I was close enough to her that I said, Gina, why did you scold me and you didn't scold such and such? And she said, because I see so much more potential in you.
Wow. Yeah. What a statement, huh?
And I will never forget that. I will never, ever forget that statement because I was like, oh, wow. And it made me
start to believe?
Yeah.
Yeah, believe in yourself a little bit, huh?
I'll never forget it. Here I am. I won't say how old I am, but it's been some years. And Gina became a dear friend over the years. And
a leader in her own right, running large department stores and around the state. Yeah.
But as a friend and a mentor, she has always been there for me. When I had big things in my career, Gina showed up. She drove one time 3 hours because she was working in the Bay Area at the time, and I had this huge grand opening when I had my bridal store, and she drove 3 hours to be there, and she said, I would not miss this day.
Yeah, that's
so. That is a leader.
Yeah, that to me is like the part that you recognize sometimes if you're coherent, as I say, is to plug in those moments that you actually get to lead yourself.
Yeah.
I think leadership, it grabs a whole bunch of different things, and it can be very broad spectrum statement, but leadership also is recognizing somebody, and you asked the question, which gave you an answer to give you direction. Yeah. And that's a big one. When I was young, my first job was a very different role, is that I was running a small photo lab for a gentleman, and he was an older gentleman and then suddenly became ill and removed himself. Well, he had 3 other businesses that he ran by himself, and I had been around a year long and learned what he was doing. And next thing you know, I was thrusted into running these businesses. I was 19 years old. Well, that's the moment I felt, looking back, leadership and teaching myself what that looks like and making the decision is like, I can do this, right?
Right.
So I think there's a big component.
Yeah. And you know, you and I, we talk about chapters of life.
What a book.
What a book.
Not worth reading, but a lot of information.
Right. Some highlights maybe.
Yeah.
But there's two people that really stand out in my life as far as mentors go. And my first real job, I call it, out of college, I worked for a company, a local food distributor. And
Legend company here locally.
I remember I'd been there a while. I had started working my way kind of up. I was hired for customer service, and I really wanted a bigger role. I really wanted to showcase what I could do, and this position opened up. And in retrospect, I was not qualified, period. But I really wanted this role. They hired somebody else, and I might have been a little sour. And so they hired this guy. And he ends up becoming a huge mentor to me. And he led well. He knew what he was doing. He gave opportunity, for growth. And I really came to look up to him. Mm-hmm. And he was also fun. We joked. He was a Cowboys fan. I was a Niners fan. There was some razzing that happened. But he had a temper. And there would be times he would go out to the warehouse and come back in mad and slam open the door, and my cubicle was right on the other side of that door.
Oh boy.
And the door would slam into my cubicle, and I was often on the phone with customers. And so one day I got up enough guts and I asked him if I could have a conversation with him. And we went into the conference room, not in his office that had all the windows, went into the conference room, and I said, I really look up to you, and I've come to learn a lot of things from you, but I think you need to work on something, and it's your temper.
Yeah.
And when you do things like that, and when you come in saying the F-bombs and all this stuff, it affects the whole...
Your credibility
as
a leader. Yeah.
And it affects everyone. Everybody's walking around on pins and needles, and... He kind of huffed out of there. We did not have a good ending to that meeting. And about 2 weeks later, he brought me in to the conference room again, and he said, Tracy, I want to thank you because you had the guts to come to me and talk to me about something I need to work on. And he said, I've always kind of had a problem with the temper. It affects even what I do with my family.
Right.
And he said, because of you, I started going to counseling to work on that.
Yeah, that's huge.
And anyways, I thought that's always stood out for me. That's also been many years ago. To this day, I think so highly of him. And I learned so much from him, and I felt like, honestly, he was such a great leader and mentor, but that one little aspect of him needed to change. And how cool is it that he actually worked on that?
Right. Those type of roles, obviously, in a weird way, he was still a mentor to you in terms of process, in terms of things that you saw and things like that. That's the type of things that I've taken from the same. It's like I grew up in a business with a bunch of guys that we started with small entity and exploded over a number of years. And as we matured, my role and my person evolved also with that. And quickly did I learn that sometimes I needed to not only pay attention to what I was doing because it was affecting people upstream, in this case, the ownership, and also to what aesthetically it looked like with my teammates. And so it really drives you. If you pay attention, it can make really big decision changes daily and by the moment. Right. And leading yourself, and leadership is including influencing your own thoughts and persons and taking from those leaders.
And I think being willing to grow and change is huge, because we all know nobody's perfect. We're not perfect in our life. We're never going to be perfect people. We're never going to be perfect leaders. Right. So when I think about a good leader, I think of fun too. Like we go to work so often in our day. I mean, we're there 8 hours a day or more, right? If we can't have fun, it's gonna be real boring. So, and we like to have fun. Like you have to be able to be with your team and make it an environment that is enjoyable.
Another form of leadership, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the environment you create is exactly what's out there. Is and I mentioned there's a book that I was presented a few years back that was done by the Harbinger Institute, and it was called Leadership and Self-Deception. And those influence, that book talks about being in your box and how it affects both up and downs of your life, meaning your family, your center of your world, which should be, and then also to your coworkers and teammates. And wow, did I learn a lot about how sometimes just how it's said more than ever affects everything, especially when you're looked to be that leader.
Yeah.
And it's tough because emotions weigh in, stress weighs in, life strays in. I mean, we call it the fray here at home. The fray can get you. So big steps in terms of what that book brought to me.
And I think just like we talked about in a previous episode was, you have to remember to smile. I mean, just like when we were talking about making
smile through it sometimes.
those cold calls or those whatever, it's like you have to remember to smile. And, it was fun. The other day we had a customer come into the store and was looking at a golf cart, and he said, "You guys just make this look so fun. I follow you." And I thought, that's so cool. That's what we want.
That's what we're putting out there.
You want
That's our leadership to not only the community and our customer base, is what we're trying to interpret lifestyle.
Yeah.
Fun.
And fun. I feel like life is so short at times, and we gotta have fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Gotta have fun. But in this journey, we asked a lot of people what they thought
some great
leadership
feedback too. It was really wonderful.
I might have to get my glasses on for this one. Not that I'm old or anything, but I do need to read.
They print it smaller nowadays.
Exactly. It's the small print that's getting me for sure. So I had several people that I asked who they look to as a leader.
Yeah.
And several people said Simon Sinek. Am I saying that right? Sinek?
Yeah, Sinek, yeah.
Sinek. And so I went and looked at what Simon says is a good leader. Simon says a good leader is selfless, someone that people like to be around and they trust. He says that a good leader has empathy. And the more we do good for each other, the more we want to do good for each other, which I love. And the one that really stuck out to me was grace under fire. I'd never seen this as a topic for leadership.
I'm going to tell you, depending on the type of business or roles you work in, me being in the automotive industry my whole life, and especially stepping into the car dealership world, and I was blessed enough to be involved with some of the largest dealerships in the country, actually. But the pressure point and grace under fire really does create a culture around you. Your coworkers either see you sweat or they don't. They see you make good good decisions or bad decisions in those moments. Gooder, yeah. I didn't take the English class. I took the reading. But the part is that it's that grace under fire. It's tough,
right?
Especially when the fire's on.
Which it is a lot in business.
Yeah, for sure.
So he says, stress and anxiety are enough to make people dishonest and sabotage their performance.
Sure.
When your body is flooded with cortisol, or the chemical that produces anxiety, you biologically restrict empathy and trust. Don't be that kind of boss. If you're the one inducing fear and anxiety in your employees, you're never going to have their trust. The solution is clear. Work on managing your own stress and be the leader you wish you had.
Right.
Your team will appreciate it.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think if old age taught me anything so far, is especially now launching our company in the last couple of years, is reminding myself of exactly that. When I'm with them, trying to take a quick breath and go, smile, here it comes. This is how I want it delivered, and not like how I feel I want to deliver it, because quick tongue sometimes less results. And
stress sometimes creates quick responses, so
absolutely.
you sometimes have to take a minute and
have
an answer that is thoughtful.
For sure. You know, like I mentioned earlier, it's been super lucky to a sense of being put in leadership opportunities. And I've been in not only in the business roles, but also go to trainings for leadership and also business. And the part that I've always taken away from is presence. I always feel like looking like a meal is best. Coming into the room, you feel the same way. Right. But also too is that stature, that like believe in yourself attitude. It doesn't have to be arrogant, but we use the word confidence, and coming in and knowing what you're going to say and saying what you know is really a big part of what that looks like. And if I had some big takeaways from those trainings over the years, that's the big part is you can still lead the people above you, and you can still lead the people below you if that's necessarily the way to say it. But boy, does it create results if you hold your breath.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and so in preparation for this, I did a little poll, and I put it out to the internet, my friends on Facebook.
The interweb. Yeah.
Yes, and asked them what they think is a good leader.
Oh, it'd be interesting to hear this.
And I can tell you that overwhelmingly people said, time and time and time again, that a leader is not a boss.
Right.
That a
teammate, job one.
Teammate. That a boss leads from the ivory tower. You do this, you do that, do as I say, not as I do. And a leader is willing to do anything that they're asking their team to do.
Right.
And that was overwhelming response from like everybody that responded to me.
Right.
That was a really, really huge one. And I do think that is super important.
Yeah, and I think that even people that are thrust into roles of leadership, not necessarily, and this is in your home too, can do that. I mean, like be willing to go, hey, go clean the dishes and tell the kids clean the dishes, but you never clean the dishes, right? It sounds dumb and simple, but it is that simple. I mentioned when we were talking Saturday about me at the store, we repainted the floors, did this and that, and I'm down on my hands and knees scrubbing baseboards.
You're right.
It's like I had people there, but I wanted it done. I wanted to show them I could do it, and mentally, that's what I do.
Right.
But I'll tell you that I feel that that's a good example to them that God, he's willing to do it. And that's what I need to do too. If I want to be anything in this company. And I think it's trickles down, hopefully.
Right. Well, and I think, a good leader also knows that they hire people who have great skill.
Or potential.
And so delegation is so key. Micromanagement is not a way to lead. No. And we hear that a lot too. If you hire someone to do a job, you should be confident that they are able to do that job. Right. Not to say that maybe there doesn't need to be some collaboration at times or, direction, but
in post-performance,
they should be able to do a job.
Right. Same thing when you tell your kid when the kids didn't clean the dishes right, you come back and say, hey, did you think this was clean?
Yeah.
What made you think you were finished with this?
Right.
And you can say that with a tone also, but the part is, but the thing is that come back and revisit it and make sure you got out of it or compliment them when you did.
Right.
Because that's the other big part is, right, compliments. I mean, it's like, hey, great job on that. Everybody, you talk about growth for people.
Yep.
We do this every night. We're coming home. Everybody's leaving the store. Hey, thank you all for working so hard today, right? That's like, I rehearse that because I want results out of that from not only just to be a true person to that, but also to know that they are appreciated and they did a good job. They did accomplish what we asked.
Yeah.
So.
And the other day, we were having a difficulty with a golf cart trying to figure out how to repair it. And you brought one of our technicians into the office and you guys were doing some research and talking through some things. And he had some incredible insight. He's such a great technician. And you guys were collaborating for 5 or 10 minutes. And as he left the office, you said, hey, I really appreciate your insight. And I love having these chats with you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was great because it really let him know he's valuable.
His worth. Yeah, his value.
He's valuable.
Yeah.
And
Well, you needed to make those decisions
Right.
next step, right? And that's like I think if anything I've learned is that positive reinforcement.
Right.
I had a fabulous mentor from my young adulthood, and who to this day is my number one mentor. And we'll leave him unnamed at the moment, but a dear friend.
Yeah.
And you see that person live a life, and to me, that's the bar.
Yeah.
Like if you pick somebody, I don't care if it's a friend, a religious leader, a neighbor,
Yeah.
even your child can be a mentor to you.
Yeah.
They'll teach us stuff that we've forgotten,
Man,
right?
that's for sure.
So when I look at his life and what he's accomplishing even to this day in his early 80s, and you're like, man, that's all I want to do,
Right.
And so that's leadership.
Right.
That's at the family level. That's at a friend level. So you can reach into some pretty amazing things.
Right. And let's talk about leadership on a different level. So sometimes you're a part of a team.
Right.
I've been part of many sales teams. I came off of one recently, and
National level program.
yeah. And you have a team of people, and of course you have a leader. But within your team, you also have so much opportunity to be a leader.
Right.
So even in our team, we have a small team of people, but you have an opportunity to even lead people that are considered your colleagues.
For sure.
And by being good examples, by helping someone. And I think that, kind of specifically talking to people right now that are in a sales team, I think so often you don't want to give people advice because it's almost like a competition. Like in the role that I was in, it's like, oh, who's going to shine the brightest?
Oh,
But
well,
you know
you're at
what?
the top of your game. That's how it works.
Obviously, everybody wants to shine the brightest, but a good teammate actually, the whole
It's just
team
the opposite.
succeeds,
Yeah.
right? So if the whole company succeeds, you all succeed.
Right.
And you want to earn the biggest bonus or the biggest whatever. Okay, I get that, but if you're going to be part of a team, you have to be helping others.
Well,
And that's a leader too.
And you have to be willing to say it. I mean, I think that there's a way to deliver things, and you are really great at that. Sometimes that's maybe not my greatest strength because of life as a type of business we've been. It's just hard and fast.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that that is exactly it, because that guiding emotion, that guiding statements really will give people the energy to say, well, that's what she does. Maybe I should try that, or maybe I will do that. And so that's true. Very, very valuable in the sense of that. There was a mentor to me that led the dealership that I worked for, who is actually recognized worldwide by Toyota. And this gentleman, 30 plus years as a general manager and owner of this dealership, and truly one of my mentors, because his person not only had conviction, but was also willing to do it. And I thought, what a great example of being a leader, because he'd be up on the sales desk. He'd say, hey, he'd kick a sales manager out and sit down at the desk and start desking deals. Guy didn't need to desk deals. It's a $200 million a year dealership. Right. But you know what? He was willing to dive in because he got to re-experience the day. He wanted to feel it. And he had the awareness to say, I need to do this. And that was really the part that I learned, because we became friends. And I'd go and sit in his office and love to chat about those moments, because he actually mentored a lot of stuff that I learned for a number of years.
Right.
And so that willingness to grow, and every day is a growth moment.
And it is. What can we learn every single day?
Oh, yeah. And don't stop growing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, really don't. It's hard sometimes to observe that moment you should be growing from, right?
And to keep doing it. I think this is the thing. We're at an age where we sometimes say, oh, want to be nice to be retired someday, and all this stuff. But we also feel that in this life, you have to keep going and growing in order to continue to lead, even if it's just yourself and your family.
Oh.
And you mentioned you got a call yesterday from someone who's in his 80s.
Oh.
Who's starting a new business.
And I was just reflecting on that. Just as you said that, I mean, this gentleman actually at the local level is very, very well known, and called me for the reason of asking input to some thoughts for business. And he coined my statement, which was, this is my statement, I'm a hustler. And I don't mean that in a negative thing. I mean, I like to move. I like to make things happen. I'm a doer. And so when that came out of his mouth, I thought, wow, this guy is 25 years older than me, 26 years older than me. And he's calling me that, and he's worth millions of dollars. And it's not about always the dollars, but just to recognize that the guy took the time to call me. And I thought, wow, okay, my example is putting out there what I want, because that's exactly who I want to live to be.
Right.
And that's a big part of it.
I know at 80 to be still.
Oh, and he's a hustler in his own right.
Still doing
I
it.
think at 83 years old, he's out there starting new businesses. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So this last week, we had the opportunity to go to a fundraiser
Yeah. Oh,
for Fresno State, our local football team.
Dogs.
Go Dogs. Yeah. And as we were sitting there through the silent auction or the live auction, and there was all this hype, and we were gearing up. We're gearing up for this talk about leadership. And it was interesting to me to watch what was happening with the team. So you want to talk about leaders.
yeah.
Okay, so first of all, there's been a huge change in coaching,
Yeah. Fresno State's got a new
and
leader.
it was cool to see Skipper step up.
Oh, yeah. Tim killed it.
And I mean, he was infectious with his energy.
Yeah.
And
Former Dog star, too, in his own right. So that was
giving
pretty awesome.
so many props to the team and to the leadership on the team, right?
Recognizing his coaches and working what that looks like.
And recognizing the players that were leaders.
Sure.
They brought them up on the stage, and I don't know, what a cool example of leadership.
Yeah.
And that's a hard role to step into. There's been a lot of cool history with Fresno State, with the coaching, and what happened.
Well, they're always looking for the next big name because the pressure. That goes back to the pressure of leadership, right?
And so that was really cool to me. Sometimes I think it's neat to sit back and watch and actually take it in. But
Leadership, though, too, is listening, right?
yeah,
Being able to take those moments, capture them,
right.
and re-ingest them and articulate them. It's
Right.
a big part of it. And people need to learn that more. I mean, me especially. I mean, there's times I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And I think I am. But, my little brain goes a little fast sometimes.
But it was neat because he actually said, you're laughing at yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's true. I live it.
Your little brain does go fast. But he did recognize the coaches, the assistants, and I love football, but I don't know all the coaches. But he did bring that up and recognize that their success of the team wouldn't happen if it wasn't for those people.
Yeah.
Same can be applied in business, right? So you have your owner or CEO or whatever, but if they didn't have key people in place helping run the vision of the company, helping run the vision of the team,
Right.
you would be lost. One person can't do it all.
Well, and that's the reflecting part about it. Like speaking about that gentleman earlier, is that we had 30 managers in the store. That's how big this dealership was. And the greatest thing that I learned from that role was he gave us all autonomy to be leaders.
Right.
He gave us our marching orders at the beginning of the day, but at the same time, you had control. He also had the statement is there's nothing that can't be fixed. And I think that is, you can do that with your kids too. It's like, great job. You almost got it done. Let's fix this and we'll try it again next time. Right. Or whatever that looks like. I think it's huge way to reflect on things. And it also empowers what those people look like as leaders in their own right.
Right.
So really a great experience for me on that, to recognize that moment.
Right. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to go back to my little
Hot sheet.
list, my little hot sheet of things that people said. So I got a lot, and this trickles back. Someone said a good leader is someone who isn't afraid to get their hands dirty and do the work that needs to be done. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
They know that they set the bar for the team and recognize how to utilize everyone's individual strengths to meet goals. Mm-hmm. That actually is key. Everyone's individual strengths. So I think that a good leader actually can determine what people are good at and
Oh,
give
well, I
them,
hope so. That's what your
right?
role
Give them
should
roles.
be manifested. Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be good at sales. Not everybody is going to be good at, leading people, whatever it is. And you have to be able to recognize that and help capitalize on what their strength is.
Right.
Okay. That's a big one. I like that.
Well, and I think we're in the throes of this as we speak for our company because we're so blessed in how this is going in the sense of how hard work and all the things we're accomplishing, but the machine's starting to grow. And then the opportunity to put those people in those roles is really the next step, right?
Right.
Which is the financial commitment of a business.
Yeah.
But also recognizing strengths and weakness and thrusting those people into those roles. We've got a couple people that never would have thought they're doing what they do today in just a short 20 months. And the idea of it is that give them a chance.
Yeah.
Show them how to do it. Give them a chance. You
Right.
know, and like I said earlier, it's like nothing can't be fixed. Just be honest.
Right.
And that's with your kids. Being honest. It's all the same.
And again, I think we don't know how we can affect someone's future. Just like, Gina Vance, when I was 16 years old, saying, you have more potential than that other person.
And I think age creates that. I think that's the observation of sitting back and listening. I think that's the same thing for us. I mean, it's that book that I told you about, that leadership and self-deception. That book really clearly defined. It's said and it's written in first person, but the concept of is how you being in your box and if you don't get out of your box daily and work on that how it does affect not only just now, but down the road, right?
Yeah.
I think and it's hard because you're an emotional. Sometimes the emotional side can take over very quickly.
Right.
I mean, there's certain things that are heartstrings or whatever you call it, that pull the wire. And the next thing is about just your critical thinking. And so it's a delicate balance, and sometimes you got to move in and out of that.
Yeah. Another thing that someone said is that a good leader can't be afraid to say, I'm sorry, or that was my fault.
Yeah. Own it. Man, own it. That's probably one of the
big.
biggest things I've had to learn, especially when you get, like you said, in these competitive roles in sales and you're like, I didn't do that. I did this. Well, you really process it through and you did. And you have to stop back and go, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. It's okay to say, look, I did this wrong, but how do I fix it? Or what do we do next? And if you have that, your leadership will recognize that too. And if they don't, that's their mistake. They're not the leader that you expect them to be. So that's you can teach up just as much as you can teach down.
Yeah. And I think a challenge, because we're talking about all kinds of positive ways to be a good leader. I think the hard part about being a good leader is that not always can things be positive. There are times where people do things wrong and do have to be reprimanded, and
I think it's talking through it too.
Yeah.
I think to be willingness, and like you said, not just to slam the door and say an F-bomb. I think the part is like, hey, what were you thinking? Where were you in that?
Right.
What got you there? And you can do, like I said, do with your kids the same thing. It's like, what gets to that point?
Right.
Right. And especially as they get older, they start to learn their capacities of that. But coworkers the same. It's like, everybody's got a different personality. Everybody's got a little affliction. Everybody's got a this and that's. And navigating those things.
We're all going to make mistakes.
Oh,
and
for sure. Every single day.
I think that you have to give people grace, but I think also on the other side of the coin, everybody has to be accountable, right? So, so helping people to be accountable and knowing, there's a trickle down effect for mistakes. Right. And so that has to be something that you tackle and fix moving forward. You can't make the same mistake twice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that's the old adage I learned from this gentleman I was talking about earlier. Again, he would say, if you wouldn't do it to your mom, why would you do it to them? And that's a really simple statement because mom's the highlight of everybody's world. Without the women, we wouldn't be men, right? And so those statements are also too as a leadership saying, hey, why would you do that way? That wasn't the right thing to do.
Right.
Sometimes it's sucking it up. It's a financial mistake. Sometimes it's just a personal mistake. But boy, I'll tell you, if you learn from that, you'll make better decisions.
Right.
All across the board.
Right. So I want to talk about something fun.
Oh.
You and I didn't even talk about this topic.
Oh, I got a
but
surprise.
I want to talk about team building.
Yeah.
I think team building is a fun part of leadership.
Yeah,
I'm all about
is.
the fun. And I think that it is super important to bond your team together.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just, hey, we're ordering pizza for everybody on a Friday and we're all going to get together and we're going to have lunch together.
Break bread.
Break bread. And all the silly things happen and people get to know each other better and they're out of the fray for a moment. And sometimes it's as simple as that.
Sure, for sure.
Last year we did a team building Christmas party
Yeah.
and we did fun games.
My wife is so much better at this part.
Oh,
I wasn't raised as a game kid, so I was the sports kid. So the variable of how that looks, and you do a great job of bringing that to the family.
I love games. I love silly fun. I was raised with a mother and father who did silly things.
And still do, Grammy Papa.
Exactly. They do. They're so fun. And I think that that's fun. I think that it's a way to break people's walls down and do fun things. And so we did a ping pong ball into the cup game with
Which
prizes.
they call what?
Well, that's beer pong, but we did a version of beer pong that
Beer
didn't
pong,
involve
but
beer.
Variable. Was
But-
champagne? No, maybe it wasn't.
And it was fun.
Everybody had a
Everybody
great
got
time.
silly.
Seemed like, yeah.
And then we did a round robin. I got some great gifts and some silly lame gifts. And real lame. And everybody got to draw a number and got to steal. And anyways, I think that you need to have these times with your team because it just can't all be about
Work.
day to day work.
the grind.
Work. It has to be about some fun things.
That's leadership, though. What you're explaining is just another version of it. I mean, it really, when you stop to think about your thoughts of that, that is your version.
Yeah.
But it also, too, has enabled you historically with your successes and your teams that you've had working with and for you.
Yeah.
It does look different. And
Yeah.
so it is a good thing. And especially companies nowadays and families, too. I think it's the same old adage as family game night or whatever that
Got to
looks
take a
like.
vacation together.
Take a vacation together. It's a stamp moment. You got to create them. If not, the time just goes by.
Right.
And if you take from that, that's a big one. I mean,
Yeah.
just take that moment. And once again, I'm the worst for that part because I'm a hard driver. So it's like, okay, what's next?
Right.
And you do, since our beautiful marriage in the last 6+ years has been based on your fortitude and your leadership in our family on that.
Wow, thank you. But you got to keep the fun in it. You really do. Years ago when I owned my bridal store, we used to once a year in the summer, we would, because that was technically a slower time for us, we would shut the store down and we rented a limo. And one year we went to the lake. One year we went to Tachi and did a spa day and day by the pool. And we felt it was an important way to bond, reward our team for good work. And I think that is important for me.
Maybe
I
we
think
should
that's
put that something together this fall. That's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. Maybe something different than just the Christmas party.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a celebration of our seasons. We're a seasonal business in a lot of cases, and so
Yeah.
that may be a good idea.
Yeah, I love that. And then I want to talk about the older sibling as a leader. So a lot of people have siblings. A lot of families have older siblings. This last week was a big week because back to school happened, and you knew I'd find a way to work the kids in.
Yep, that's what we do, or you do. We do.
But my daughter started her senior year, and her brother is away at school, and our my tradition with my kids since my son was in kindergarten was on the first day of school to take them to get a donut before school. We talk about what the year's gonna hold and, get everybody excited. And
I saw the excitement in this one.
oh, this one was tough because senior year. But anyways, and so since Trevor was in kindergarten and Bella was not, she was 3 or whatever. And so we would go get donuts. Well, even after Trevor was out of high school, he would go get the donuts. He's away at school. And I was so proud of him. I asked him if he wanted to FaceTime in. And we had to get up because the bus left at 7:10 that morning, every morning now. And so we had to get up and go get donuts at like 6:20 in the morning.
Sure.
And so anyways, he's in Arizona. He sets his clock early. He actually got up, went to the donut store, got a donut. And when he joined us on FaceTime, he had his donut and we all got to share. And it was, I think, Bella was already a little bit emotional, just it's her senior year. She doesn't want the fun to end. But the minute she saw her brother, she just started bawling. And, I think for those of you that are listening that have kids and have siblings, man, that older child really has a lot of influence. And
Right.
I think that is a huge leadership role in families. And it shouldn't be taken lightly, and that should be fostered because that can transfer to the rest of their life as a leader.
But, I'm going to tell you one other thing to that we call you the matriarch, but that fortitude, that consistency, that is the same thing in another role, leadership, family leadership, business leadership, whatever, but you've created also the word tradition in that, right?
Yeah.
So it almost pairs in that case. So I think that's really amazing when you think about a 21-year-old, an hour, a whole different time zone away,
Yeah.
that really, in all practical cases, could give a rip. But he doesn't. He does.
Doesn't.
And
He
he's a
cares.
unique soul because you've raised that in him. So that's that tradition, you're going to have to find other ways to carry that on.
I know. We're going to all be FaceTiming on the first day of school
That or
future.
new job role, which
Yeah.
he's heading toward hopefully here soon, and things like that. Find those pinnacle moments.
Yeah.
And I think that's unique. Doing that with your staff the same way.
Yeah.
It's like, man, we crushed it. Do whatever that moment. So that's amazing.
Right. So there's so many opportunities for leadership. I think that it's really cool to look for those.
Oh, yeah.
I think if anyone sees someone with the potential of leadership, to mentor or foster them for the future is so cool. Sometimes people just need someone to just help them up. Just one step, and then they'll take it the rest of the way, right? They just need that one step.
I'm going to tell you, there's a young man to this day that I totally miss as a daily partner in business and daily, because he was fun and he still is fun. But when I hired him on our business years ago, I got to quickly recognize this guy had so much potential as a person, and I'm saying as in a leader and a contributive part of the team, but also too that he was actually better than he recognized or allowed himself to be. I called him my little piece of coal. And I'm going to make you a diamond someday. I'm going to just keep pressing on you. Now, all those years later, he's running a company here locally. Kills it. Everybody knows him. He's just the guy that just loves, but he also, too, knows what to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, grace for me, right? To think
Right.
that maybe I saw that in
Had a little
him.
part of that.
And I'm not saying it's just me. There was many other people, I'm sure. But the part is recognize that, your child is what we have to look at every day, is what their potential is. Your spouse.
For sure.
I'm still a piece of coal. She's pressing on me.
Come on, Diamond. Come on.
Your diamond, I think is what. But the really is recognizing that in those moments. So it was really amazing for me to experience.
Yeah. I love it. I think that we have covered so much. I love this topic.
Great
I
topic.
love thinking about leaders and helping maybe maybe put a little nugget. I learned a lot, even just researching leadership.
Oh.
So I'm happy that,
Tough to learn, right?
yeah, got a chance to do that.
Great job, babe.
Nice job. We'll see
Yay.
you next time.
Thanks.